What's up? Welcome to my weekly review for January 20th. Should have been the 19th, but here we are a day late. If you haven't been here before, my name is Andrew. You haven't missed much, but this is my weekly kind of video diary entry covering any thoughts, takeaways I've had over the previous week, updates on what I'm consuming, watching, reading, listening to, maybe some recommendations, thoughts on business and work, so general life updates. Be different every single week as life changes and evolves. So let's get into it for this week. So general updates to start. Tomorrow is my 29th birthday, and I've been contemplating how I feel about that, and I don't think I know yet. I don't know how I feel about it. Typically on my birthday, I like to just do things that I normally enjoy, whether that is just going to a local coffee shop or bakery, getting a good brunch or dinner. I don't know, nothing crazy. But honestly, I've been looking forward to my 30s for a long time. I feel like it's going to be a pretty incredible decade for me. And so this is just one step closer. I've got 1 year left to my 20s, and I'm looking forward to it. But I don't know, I don't stress that much about aging, but it is, those big kind of markers, like knowing, just how long ago certain things were, it does start to hit you a little bit. But I feel pretty grateful to be here and to be living the life that we are right now. I think that's probably the biggest piece of reflection that I've had, is like how far I've come in the past, matter of a few years, really. I know that your 20s aren't the same for everybody, but like it really took some years for me to find a flow, find my groove, find myself, and figure out what it is that I really want out of life. I feel like I'm finally in a place where I'm really content, really happy, and it just took a lot of tough times to get there. So if you're younger, if you're in your early 20s, even your mid 20s, it gets better. Just stick it out and wait for your brain to like fully develop, and it'll improve from there. One thing that came up this week, I was on a call with Tim. This is Tim. You might have seen him on TikTok or around on Instagram. That's him. And I work with Tim on his analytics, his organic social stuff, and just kind of general brainstorming for content optimizations and things like that. But we were on a call and we got talking about how easy it is to use a small excuse to avoid a big task. And sometimes the task isn't even that big. But the example here is that he was kind of debating on what hook to use for a video, rather a video like format, really. So instead of like pursuing, the creation of this video format and this like series that he's had an idea for, he has waited because he's like, I need the perfect hook. I thought it was a really good example of how easily we can get caught up in details. And I said, it's kind of like not writing the book because you don't have the title yet. It just has kind of stuck with me throughout the week because it made me think about the things in my life that maybe I've avoided. I think that, an example a lot of people can understand is like, not going to the gym because you don't have like the perfect workout plan. And it's like, go and get it done, get something done. So it's those little excuses that we kind of latch to and use to avoid things that are maybe uncomfortable or stressful or, just a heavy lift in any way. So that has been something that I've thought about a lot. Next up on the general updates is I got my dream bench yesterday. I don't know if people have dream benches, but I definitely did. And that is why this video is a day late. We drove up to Indianapolis to get this, and it is right behind me. It is a Herman Miller Nelson bench. It is from the 1950s. And honestly, we got it for an incredible price. I think typically they can go for 2, 3 or more thousand, especially from the 1950s. And this one we picked up for $700, and I'm pretty stoked about it. It'll be a piece that we keep forever. It was kind of the final piece for our living space, just providing some extra seating and also aesthetic purposes over there. So I'm really happy with it. You can see it below our rackets. it's just very exciting. A bit of a birthday present for myself. My last general update is that I've been thinking a lot about the kind of grind culture that we have and how I definitely subscribe to some mentalities within grind culture. I will not deny that. But one thing that I don't like is the kind of refusal to make the time for people in your life that you love. There's a very big creator and influence in the kind of entrepreneurial space who has proudly talked about not going home for the holidays to see his family because of how important business is. And it's just kind of a reminder that, like, we're here to connect with people. We're here to have relationships and experience love and joy with others. And that community and connection is just absolutely vital for fulfillment. And I just always want to make the time, no matter what kind of, phase of life I'm in. It's important to make the time. And something that we talk about a lot is how some things aren't about you. If you are planning to go and do something with a friend and now the night has come and you're like, I really don't want to go anymore. I don't want to go. I've had a busy week. I'm tired. It's like, it might not be about you. It might be about that friend really needing that time to connect, and needing some support or just some love or some connection. And, you don't want to take that away from them either. So that has been a big reflection lately. Moving on to our different categories. First up is reading. I won't lie, this has been a struggle lately. I mentioned last week that I'm in the middle, not really the middle, I'm in the beginning of Wuthering Heights, and I'm trying to push through, but I haven't picked it up for a bit. Reading and I have a tumultuous relationship. I either read a ton and kind of run through books pretty quickly and am like really in a flow, or I'm completely out of it. So it's very much so an all or nothing type of habit for me, and I don't really like that. I would like for it to, if anything, be more on the all side, but I would like to have a balanced kind of relationship with that. So I don't know if that means picking up Wuthering Heights and persisting, or if that means picking up a different book and trying to do that. But sometimes I am suddenly reading 4 books at a time and then I don't finish any of them. So this is an area that I'm actively trying to navigate. I think that we don't have to get into the depths of the literacy crisis, but reading is just incredibly important, especially reading that challenges you and kind of pushes you to your limit with your own literacy. And that's what I've been trying to do in about the past years, like picking up more classics, picking up more like nonfiction reading that challenges me and makes me kind of think more, and not just books that are kind of like the easy read, and the satisfying read. So I hope that my update next week with reading will be a bit more interesting, and I'll have updates on what I'm actually reading. Watching and listening is somewhat similar. It's in a phase of realignment. Right now, our TV is not mounted because we got a new console and stuff. So it's about to be mounted today, actually. And so with that, like, it's sat on a trunk right now, but we have not been like watching anything except for some sports and listening. I haven't listened to a ton of music lately, but I've been listening to primarily one podcast, which would be Good Hang with Amy Poehler, just for a good time. My point here with realignment is something I've really thought about in the new year is reconsidering the content I'm consuming and considering whether or not it is supporting me in my goals, or if it is maybe harming my pursuit of my goals. And what I mean by that is, if I'm following a lot of people on TikTok who are just posting kind of stupid, let's use the example of fail videos. Just a bunch of stupid fail videos. They're funny. I laugh at people when they fall. Sorry. if I'm only following that content and I am just consuming that over and over and over, that is like the brain drain, right? That is the doom scroll, the brain fog that comes with it. And the reality is, I don't know that I will get to a place where I am not scrolling. I scroll a lot less than I used to, less than half than what I used to. And that is good. And I would like for it to be a bit lower, but like, I know that I will seek out content. So I want to make sure that the content I'm seeking out aligns with what I enjoy and what like supports me. So that is people who are, artists. That is people who are curators, are entrepreneurs. They have to inspire me in some way or educate me in some way. And so with my watching and listening, I've been considering that as well. Like I mentioned, I will listen to Good Hang because it is a good laugh and I enjoy it. It's not a doom scroll, it's not taking away. But whenever I consider, the shows I'm watching or the content I'm consuming, I just want to make sure it's supporting who I want to be as a person. So we are in a phase of realignment and we'll see where it goes from here. Next up is a little category. It's coffee. And I was thinking about, whenever I was typing this out, why I put coffee on here. And I thought about how I love it. But I thought about, more importantly, how it is a very important ritual in my day. And I've thought a lot over the years about the importance of rituals and how, we talk about having routines and habits and things, but there's a difference between a routine and a ritual, because to me, a ritual is very mindful. So maybe it is the lighting of an incense whenever you're preparing to relax for the evening. Maybe it is brewing a cup of tea. For me, it is making coffee. It's going through the process of grinding the beans how they should be and boiling the water and, brewing the coffee and pressing it and every step. And it's one of those things where it takes my full attention. So I don't have the time or capacity to be distracted doing other things, because then you'll mess up the coffee, right? And so with this week, I just encourage you to, consider what your rituals are. Consider if you can be a bit more present in them this week and more mindful about them. And if you realize you don't have any rituals, consider integrating some. They can be very, very simple. It can literally be like lighting a candle and just knowing that that is something you do that really grounds you in the moment. Next up is sports. Sports are kind of ramping up in my world. First, Australian Open round 2 is starting this evening, and this has been great. Calling out the fact that I think last night, Naomi Osaka pulled up in an incredible outfit. The only thing that I have that I don't like about the Australian Open is how hard it is to watch it with the timing. It does suck. But I've enjoyed it so far. No big surprises, I think, so far. No big upsets, at least kind of in my book. But we'll see how things progress into round 2. Next is the women's national team, soccer team. They announced their She Believes Cup in the past couple of weeks, and we are going to the Columbus match to see them play Canada. Just calling that out because I am excited about it. I think it's beginning of March, so that'll be very, very fun. It'll also give me the chance to go to a cafe in Columbus that I've been wanting to go to for years. And then the last note here is that we are about to enter the preseason for the NWSL. So that's the Women's Pro Soccer League in the US. I'm very excited. There's been so many trades in the past week or two that it's been a little hard to keep up with. So I'm going to need to kind of go revisit my team's roster, make sure that I'm up to date with everything. But we've still got about 2 months until the first matches. I think a little less than 2 months now, but until the first matches. So that is exciting. I always look forward to that season starting. Last week, I think this was health or something, but I am calling this the hot topic area. So it's something that I just want to talk about this week is content. So this has been something that I've been talking about with my girlfriend for, hours on end in the past couple of weeks. It's what led to this video and will lead to other videos. But it's really understanding what my why is and why I want to create it and what I want the end result to be. And if you're curious, it's simply connection. I think that in the world that we're in, having our own platforms and outlets is incredible. And I want to use mine, and I've got a lot to say. So, the reason why I put what's my why though is because that's kind of a trick that my girlfriend used on me to understand what my true purpose was. Is she asked me why 5 times to get to the root of my reasoning, which I thought was very interesting, frustrating on the receiving end of those questions, but it worked. And then last up here is work and business. Continuing to focus on alignment here. I mentioned last week that I really want to make sure that the work that I'm taking on is aligned with the greater purpose and the greater goals. So I've been really prioritizing that. And then the thing that we've been talking about in the past, like 2 days or so, is just like, are you pushing hard enough? I think that it's really easy to start to get complacent. That kind of happened with us whenever we were coming into the year, where we looked at what we already kind of had on the books as far as work, and we were like, wow, we're in a good spot. And that acknowledgement of it being good enough led us to kind of back off, to take our foot off the gas a bit. And now we're recentering and saying, instead of viewing it that way, we should say, if we're already here, how far can we go? Like, how much farther can we get? Because we already kind of have this leg up, right? So this, like, are you pushing hard enough? I feel like is a question that I ask myself regularly, but I don't always ask it about the right things. So with business, that's the big theme, I think, probably for the next few weeks, is like, are we pushing hard enough? So that is my update for the week. I will return on Monday with a new update, and I hope you all have a fantastic week.